Tonight, the desperate yet delicate search for a trainee nurse feared buried in rubble from a Whalan blast. $1 billion boost to build vital roads in our west, connecting us to the new airport. Chaos in the Blues camp. Teddy's back as injury cruels Dylan Edwards' debut. The ugly aftermath of a wet and wild weekend across Sydney. Plus, Matilda Mania is back ahead of a friendly showdown with China, and love is in the stands.
This is 9 News with Peter Overton.
Good evening. The search at Whalan is growing more desperate tonight for a woman believed buried in the house explosion. Crews are working non-stop, combing through the rubble amid increasing concerns that gas had been leaking from the complex long before the blast.
The view from the air and the enormity facing rescuers. The Whalan unit complex blown to pieces. And feared buried in the rubble, a young trainee nurse who was visiting her mother. Carol was in the unit below when the complex blew up.
All of a sudden, there was this loud explosion. It just like a... And then everything started to come down, ceilings everywhere.
As concrete beams and tiles rained down, Carol sheltered under a door frame.
I couldn't get out. There was no stairwell. It was gone. My neighbour's unit was gone. And the firemen came and got you out.
Throughout the night they kept searching. Like a scene from an earthquake disaster, a human chain of fireys, police and paramedics, carefully passing chunks of rubble, concrete and tiles. And then, moments of complete silence as rescuers slid under the concrete slab that had fallen one story, listening for any hint that the nurse might be alive.
So the physical impacts of that explosion and then, of course, the consequence of the structural collapse in all the parts of the building would have been a very challenging situation for anyone to survive.
As brutal as the explosion was, finding someone alive is a delicate procedure. The Urban Search and Rescue team assisted in the Turkey earthquake. Here, they're using thermal imaging cameras and ultra-sensitive microphones. So the question remains what caused this explosion. All the speculation continues to centre on a gas leak, either in the top or the bottom story. Andrew's grandfather was one of those hospitalised.
I think there was always a gas smell sort of thing, like a leak.
The units were government-owned, and the possible build-up of gas is being looked at.
The Housing Minister is investigating that promptly, urgently. That's of grave concern.
The mother of the missing nurse stayed at the search overnight, and she was there again today, keeping vigil, praying for news and being looked after by neighbours.
She kept saying, my daughter's strong, my daughter's strong, my daughter's strong, and I just said to her, just have faith and have strength, and at this stage we need to look after you.
The 5 people taken to hospital have been discharged. As for those who lost their home...
I'm just happy to be standing here, and that was our little community, all us oldies.
Mark Burrows, 9 News.
OK, let's go straight to 9's Helene Lambetsos, who's in Whalan for us tonight. Helene, what's the latest on the rescue operation?
Pete, this search is now stretching into a second gruelling night. This afternoon, we saw heavy machinery brought in to clear out 2 massive concrete slabs. That was to make extra room for firefighters to continue painstakingly combing through that rubble. Now, as this search goes on, questions remain over how this has happened. Residents reporting gas leaks smelled multiple times from this property on multiple occasions. Now, the Housing Department has confirmed in the last year there were 2 reports of a gas leak coming from this property, but the department says on both occasions the issues were fixed. But of course, Pete, questions still remain.
Helene, thank you. A funding boost in the upcoming state budget will see major upgrades to critical roads around the new Western Sydney airport. While improving access to the airport, it promises to improve freight movements, along with commercial and residential development in surrounding communities.
It's all about connections, not just to Sydney's new international airport, but around it. This $1 billion investment in Western Sydney roads will unlock jobs close to where people live, making real the promise of the new Western Sydney airport.
The state government will now match the federal government's $400 million to turn Elizabeth Drive into a 4-lane divided road between the Northern Road and Mamre Road. Another $500 million will complete the next stage of the upgrade to Mamre Road between Erskine Park and Kemps Creek. The upcoming budget also includes $115 million to create a 4-lane dual carriageway on Mulgoa Road in Glenmore Park. Industry advocates say these widened roads are crucial to fast-tracking stalled commercial development and the jobs that go with it, because the current arteries wouldn't cope.
Mamre Road in particular has got development applications queuing up, key industrial developments. They're looking to roll into that area, but the road funding had to be there to unlock that.
Planning experts say road upgrades are all good and well, but warn that the airport and Aerotropolis risk becoming China-like ghost cities unless efficient public transport options are in place on day one. The Deputy Premier and Minister for Western Sydney disagrees. While the new metro line from the airport to St Mary's requires a change to heavy rail, she says communities along the new line will get a benefit they've never had.
This is transformational. That is going to be life-changing for the people of Western Sydney and their ability to get to and from the airport.
The new airport opens in 2026. In Badgerys Creek, Eddie Meyer, 9 News.
ACT police have tonight launched a murder investigation after the body of a 78-year-old woman was found inside a home in Gordon in Canberra's south.
All I'd say is for people is to, look out for your friends and family. If you think there are issues with mental or physical health, particularly as people get into their elder years, that they reach out and talk to somebody, get the assistance they need.
The woman's 86-year-old husband was arrested in nearby Fadden and is tonight assisting police with inquiries. A wild brawl in the city's west early this morning has left 4 people in hospital. Planks of wood and metal were left strewn across Kipling Drive in Collerton after reports a group was fighting in the street. A man was left with a head injury and a second a lower back injury. What sparked the fight is still unknown. A chaotic 24 hours in the Blues camp has given Axe captain James Tedesco the chance at immediate State of Origin redemption. 9 News reporter Zach Bailey joins me live from the team hotel at Sydney Olympic Park. Zach, James Tedesco has been recalled after Dylan Edwards was ruled out of Game 1.
He certainly has, Pete, and Tedesco's recall is one of the most stunning in Origin history. This time last week, 9 News revealed the long-standing Blues skipper had been dumped by new coach Michael Maguire. Today, he was back in camp, arriving at the team hotel to join his teammates and begin his preparations for Wednesday's series opener. Of course, it comes at the expense of Dylan Edwards, who picked up a quad injury at training yesterday in a devastating blow for the rookie fullback. Today, he was officially ruled out, but will remain with the team through until Wednesday. Pete, it has been a dramatic day for the Blues. We'll have a full wrap-up later in sport where we'll hear from both men, James Tedesco and Dylan Edwards.
Thank you, Zach. Australia is preparing to surrender billions of dollars in gas revenue to stop Beijing's attempts to woo one of our nearest neighbours. 9 News can tonight reveal that the federal government has offered the Timorese government incentives to fast-track a long-stalled offshore gas project.
China has been getting cosy with Timor-Leste, and it's beginning to concern Australia. So Canberra's upping the ante through Foreign Minister Penny Wong's special envoy, former Victorian Premier Steve Bracey.
There is a significant offer there. It'll be of great benefit to Timor-Leste.
9 News can reveal Timor-Leste has been offered a multi-billion-dollar lifeline to fast-track the long-stalled Greater Sunrise offshore gas project.
To see the field developed as soon as feasibly possible.
And for the revenue to flow to the Timor-Leste government.
The Greater Sunrise gas field, 450 kilometres northwest of Darwin and 150 kilometres south of Timor-Leste, holds $50 billion worth of gas. If Timor-Leste agrees to have the gas piped to Darwin for processing, it'll not only receive 80% of the revenue, but Australia has also offered half its share to set up a dedicated infrastructure fund for Timor.
We don't want a pipeline for the sake of a pipeline. The pipeline coming to Timor-Leste will generate thousands of jobs.
The Timorese want to spur economic development by processing the gas in the south of their nation, but this may be commercially unviable compared to the Darwin option, both sides agreeing to an independent analysis.
If it is persuasive enough, I'm sure the government would consider it.
A promising sign, given the bad blood caused 20 years ago when Australia spied on the Timorese during negotiations over oil and gas fields. Australia's also offering Timor-Leste more migrant worker access, plus an equity stake in the Darwin processing plant to put the impoverished nation on a stable financial footing.
We don't want to push them to even think of going to China.
Getting gas flowing from Greater Sunrise has become a top strategic objective for the Albanese government to give Timor-Leste the ability to resist Beijing's influence. Andrew Probyn, 9 News.
The Defence Minister has used a meeting with his Chinese counterpart in Singapore to call out what he's called Beijing's unsafe and unprofessional behaviour on the high seas. Richard Miles registered Australia's concerns with Dong Jun following an incident last month where a Chinese fighter jet dropped flares in front of an Australian helicopter off the Korean coast. Mr Miles said it was a very frank discussion.
Having a dialogue of that kind in place allows us to have a much better understanding of what we're doing and creates much greater safety.
Beijing blamed Australia for provoking the flare incident, claiming the helicopter was spying on Chinese military, an assertion rejected by Australia. The federal government has vowed to jail anyone found guilty of distributing sexually explicit deep fake pictures or videos. If passed, the laws will make it illegal to share any non-consensual, digitally altered pornography with a maximum penalty of 7 years behind bars. Days after he became a convicted criminal, Donald Trump has stolen the show at a UFC event. The former US president played to the crowd as a key witness in his case slammed him in the press.
From the courthouse to Fight Club,
Donald Trump is in the building and the former president getting a standing ovation from the assembled masses.
2 days after a jury handed him a guilty verdict on 34 counts, Trump, now the first former US president to become a convicted criminal, at a different stoush, the UFC.
Boy, the round of applause he's getting right now is pretty staggering. Well done, mate.
It might have been a raucous reception in New Jersey, but he's received a much colder one from the woman at the centre of his New York trial. Stormy Daniels telling the UK's Sunday Mirror, "I think he should be sentenced to jail and some community service working for the less fortunate, or being the volunteer punching bag at a women's shelter." The former porn star was paid hush money in the days before the 2016 election to stay silent over her affair with Donald Trump. He is completely and utterly out of touch with reality. "I've been telling the truth the entire time," she said. Yesterday, Donald Trump was still pleading he'd done nothing wrong.
So it's not hush money. It's a non-disclosure agreement, totally legal.
But it wasn't the hush money payment itself Donald Trump was convicted for. It was that he falsified business records to hide it. Now, the former president has 40 days to find out what punishment the judge has in mind.
President Trump, you're the man, bro. It is a damn travesty what they're doing to you.
In the United States, Jonathan Kersley, 9 News.
South Africa is on a new political path for the first time in 30 years. The African National Congress Party has lost its parliamentary majority. With 99% of votes tallied, it secured just 40.2%. Nelson Mandela led the ANC to victory in South Africa's first democratic election in 1994. India's Prime Minister has been in power for a decade, and it looks like he'll be staying there. Narendra Modi is tipped to win a third consecutive term, according to the latest exit polls. Official results will be released in 2 days' time. Benjamin Netanyahu has reiterated Israel will not end its war in Gaza unless Hamas is destroyed. The Prime Minister's statement cast doubt on the United States' recent announcement of a new Israeli-led ceasefire plan. Pro-Palestinian protesters then confronting President Joe Biden outside a church.
Mr. President, are we closer to a ceasefire?
Over the past 48 hours, Qatar, Egypt and the United States have all publicly called for a ceasefire. It'll be a busy old night in Sydney town tomorrow. Along with the Vivid Festival, the lights will also be on at Homebush as the Matildas play their last home game before the Olympic Games in Paris.
No matter where they would stroll, it was a selfie every 10 steps for the Matildas. Those Tillies taking in a morning walk around Homebush found it difficult to gain momentum. Such was the demand for a snap.
Thanks so much, girls.
Fresh from Friday's last-minute 1-1 draw against China in Adelaide, it is adulation acknowledged by their former, now opposition coach.
I definitely heard that roar in the 95th minute, which definitely hurt us.
The Chinese coach pointing to the many Australians now playing in European competitions, helping create that Tilly glow.
And I've seen that firsthand, of course, being overseas the last couple of years.
For retiring goalie Lydia Williams, who will hand in her gloves after Paris with more than 100 caps. It's a long way away from when the Tillies were happy to pull 5,000 fans.
The fans, the family and everyone in between. And I think we've kind of seen that grow throughout this last year.
Tomorrow night is an 80,000 sellout at Accor, their 14th sold-out home match in a row. Mary Fowler's boyfriend in the stands to watch their final run around the track this afternoon. And coach Tony Gustafsson will be making his final selections for the Olympics from here. The 18-member squad for Paris to be announced on Tuesday.
I could have waited another month to announce it if you look at the deadline, but I really want to make sure we did it on home soil. And hopefully they get a medal that they so richly deserve, particularly this group of players, this generation.
At Sydney Olympic Park, Mike Dalton, 9 News.
Parts of WA have been lashed by a freak storm, bringing with it powerful winds, heavy rain and lightning strikes. Bunbury, south of Perth, was hardest hit. Trees uprooted onto cars and homes, and the roof ripped off this pub with people still inside. Several pub goers were taken to hospital with minor injuries. And we've had our own weekend of wet and wild weather. With more, good evening, Amber.
We sure have. Good evening to you, Pete. We endured torrential rain overnight, making it the second wettest June day on record before waking up, surprisingly, to some blue skies. Most coastal areas were drenched with more than 100 millimetres of rain since 9 a.m. yesterday, while our western suburbs saw a widespread 20 to 80 millimetres. Bondi and Rose Bay saw the heaviest rain, picking up 171 millimetres, with more than 150 falling in Little Bay and Randwick, 143 millimetres in the city. That means we've already picked up more rain than we usually see during the entire month of June. Our beaches looking a bit worse for wear today. Clontarf in the north looking very brown and murky after more than 130 millimetres of rain. There was a high pollution warning and the water only starting to clear near Middle Head. Unfortunately, it isn't the end of the rain this week. I'll be back with a full forecast a little later, Pete.
Amber, thank you. Fire erupts inside a popular Rose Bay shop. Toys fueling the flames, the surprise likely cause next. In this climate, it's baffling the DV Lifeline in our west in a funding fight to stay open. A $24 million discovery inside a teen's bags at Sydney Airport lands him behind bars. And five's a charm. Billionaire Rupert Murdoch ties the knot again. A local Rose Bay institution in Sydney's east has gone up in flames. More than 20 firefighters were called to the popular toy and art shop on New South Head Road at 8 this morning, battling the fire for 40 minutes. Water in the electrical circuit following yesterday's heavy rain, the likely cause. Tortillas, a whisk and 26 kilograms of methamphetamine. That was the staggering find inside a US traveller's suitcases at Sydney Airport. Border Force officers uncovering more than 20 packages in total with an estimated value of $24 million. The 18-year-old man has been denied bail and will face court next month. An urgent plea to the government tonight to help those falling through the cracks in the domestic violence crisis. Migrant women living in Western Sydney have few options, and one of the only agencies that offers support is now having to turn victims away. A warning, this story is confronting.
So it's like that. It's okay.
Their trauma runs deep. Women whose faces we cannot show, many still in hiding after being made prisoners in their own home.
Hitting me, using verbally abusive language in front of my daughter. He called me and keep an eye on me and always told me that I have a camera, I can see you, what are you doing? Because he doesn't allow me to go out of the house alone.
Each story is chilling.
He started taunting me, torturing me. He started blackmailing. He was sharpening knife in front of my daughter, younger one.
Abuse that never stopped.
Also, after my baby, even in my pregnancy also.
Until walking through this store. Her house is a domestic violence shelter by the Harman Foundation, providing refuge for more than 75 women and at least 25 children. A large majority of those they help, new migrants living in Western Sydney.
You should do that immediately. Ghar nahi honge, and you know it is the right time.
Women sold on the idea of a better life in Australia.
So you come to Australia and live with me. We will get married, so you will have a good, education for children and future.
But when that fairy tale became a nightmare, most of these women had nowhere to go.
Language can be a barrier. The country is new, they don't know anything, they don't know the laws, they don't know their rights.
Very difficult because of my visa condition. I was not able to find a new place.
The foundation, which does work closely with government and other DV support agencies, relies solely on donations, volunteers and small grants. But still, without a cent of ongoing state or federal government funding, the foundation has been forced to turn away up to 6 women each week.
They are acknowledging that we're doing good work, but there's no funds coming through.
New South Wales Minister for Prevention of Domestic Violence, Jodie Harrison, visited the foundation 8 months ago. Still, despite the state government since pledging $230 million over 4 years to combat the crisis, requests for funding here has fallen on deaf ears.
The work is expanding and our resources are very thin. We are asking a little share into this pie.
Minister Harrison declined an interview for this story. The rate at which women are being violently killed by a current or former partner is frightening. Over the past few years across Australia, 1 woman was killed each week on average. This year, it's around every 4 days. For these women, it was courage combined with some luck, leading them to a service which got them out in time. Many others still trapped and desperate for a lifeline.
Is this the first time that you've experienced freedom in Australia?
Yes, ma'am. But I have some hope for that I am living here for my daughter and I want to give her a good life.
In Sydney, Hayley Francis, 9 News.
And if you or anyone you know is a victim of domestic violence, there is help out there. Call 1-800-RESPECT. That's 1-800-737-732. Parts of a German town have become inaccessible to rescue workers, with helicopters instead used to save people trapped by major flooding. Heavy rain in the country's south saw rivers burst their banks in Bavaria. Authorities saying the flooding has caused enormous damage. He's done it 4 times before, but Rupert Murdoch seems confident he's finally found the one. The 93-year-old has married for a 5th time in the vineyard of his Bel Air estate. His bride is Alina Zukova. She's 25 years his junior and a retired molecular biologist. They started dating last year. Next in 9 News, the driver nabbed 9 times over the legal blood alcohol limit. Plus the death of Natasha Ryan, the girl who made international headlines after hiding in a cupboard for 5 years. An important travel update, how Qantas has changed the way you board. Priceless advice from the Einstein of Wall Street, what he says we should all be doing to get ahead. And why the King has turned to David Beckham for a helping hand. Natasha Ryan, the Queensland woman who hid in her boyfriend's cupboard for 5 years, has died. Ryan was 15 when she disappeared in central Queensland and was found to be alive during the trial of a man accused of her murder. It was later found she willingly ran away from home to be with her older boyfriend. The 40-year-old's body was found on a Rockhampton golf course this morning. Police say it isn't suspicious. And if you or someone you know is struggling to cope, you can contact Lifeline on 13 11 14. Police in Canberra were left stunned after pulling over a Toyota Corolla driving erratically yesterday. The 36-year-old driver allegedly blowing almost 9 times the legal limit, a near fatal level of alcohol. He's been suspended from driving for 90 days, with ACT Police saying it's one of the highest readings they've ever seen. New York's Wall Street is the heart of the world's finance sector and the home of one very recognisable trader. You may not know Peter Tuchman's name, but his face has appeared countless times in newspapers around the world. 9 News joined the man dubbed the Einstein of Wall Street inside the New York Stock Exchange.
He's ridden the highs, the lows, the moments that matter on Wall Street.
So, look, I have been here for a long time, some say for 100 years.
Peter Tuchman is the most photographed trader in the New York Stock Exchange, a spirited stockman who's been around the block.
Tell me, what are the biggest moments that you've witnessed on Wall Street?
The bubble of 2000, the financial crisis of 07, 08, and obviously COVID. I've seen every crisis and crash since 1987.
The 80s. Ronald Reagan was the US president, Bob Hawke was Australia's Prime Minister, and Black Monday saw the stock market descend into the biggest single-day drop in history.
On that day, that was probably one of the craziest days I've ever experienced. You know, I had never gotten that sense of despair and stress and absolute craziness, feeling like the world was coming to an end.
But the world kept on spinning, and the showman of the stock exchange was snapped and papped time and again.
A lot of those shots were literally in the heat of battle, right? You're buying and selling, representing a customer. You know, there's news out, there's a war happening, it's COVID. Markets are opening and closing and all that kind of stuff.
In the 4 decades Peter Tuchman has been working here on Wall Street, things have changed a lot. Technology means trading is now more accessible than ever. In fact, you can do it from the palm of your hand.
Investing, everybody should be investing in their future.
But let's be real. Right now, budgets are tight and the cost of living has soared. So what would the Einstein of Wall Street do?
I'm a cup half full guy, not a cup half empty guy. And I know that people are struggling. My recommendation for people is everybody should be putting money aside on a weekly or monthly basis. Whatever it is, $5, $10, $100, $250, put it into the market in any way you feel fit, right? And sort of have that kind of an account to invest in your future.
And as you invest in your future, Peter Tuchman will be investing too, just as soon as the bell rings at the New York Stock Exchange.
It means that you're about to do some epic, right?
On Wall Street, Lauren Tomasi, 9 News.
North Korea has stepped up a bizarre campaign against the South, this weekend sending 600 more balloons filled with rubbish and excrement over the border. Between 20 to 50 balloons arrived each hour overnight. The North began the onslaught earlier this week, calling them, quote, gifts of sincerity. King Charles has teamed up with football royalty to promote his main charity. David Beckham is becoming an ambassador for the King's Foundation. The announcement made today after he met with the monarch last month. The charity was caught up in a Cash for Honours scandal in 2022. The palace hopeful Becks can turn its image around. Sydney travellers will be some of the first to try a new approach to boarding a Qantas flight. The airline announcing from June 25, domestic customers will board in small groups rather than all passengers queuing to board at the same time. It's the first time the approach has been adopted in Australia. A front row seat to what our teachers are put through in the classroom. Why body cameras for educators could be the key to making schools safer. Cases of potentially deadly RSV explode across Sydney. The fresh vaccine push for our children. The unlikely duo teaming up in a tourism push with a difference. All of that after sport with James, and it's been a dramatic day for the Blues.
It certainly has, Pete. Good evening to you. Dylan Edwards, he was supposed to be making his Origin debut on Wednesday. Instead, he'll be watching from the stands as a cruel training injury sees James Tedesco back in blue. We'll hear from both players next. It meant Teddy was a late scratching for the Roosters, and it showed as the Origin-ravaged Cowboys notched up one of the upsets of the season. Plus, just over 50 days out from the Olympics in Paris, 3 Aussie stars strut their stuff on the world stage.
And we can look forward to some blue skies to help dry things out after a very soggy weekend. But how long will the sunshine last? I'll have your full forecast soon.
Talking to a doctor for free, and it's not bulk billed.
Being able to access GP services late in the night.
The Health Fund's now cutting consultation costs and offering 24/7 medical support.
Australians all want everyone to get a fair go with their healthcare.
9 News, your news, Monday at 6.
It's often said one person's pain can be another's gain, and that is certainly the case for the state's 2 best fullbacks. As Dylan Edwards' Origin debut was taken away from him, James Tedesco was given a Blues lifeline and says even on short notice, he's ready.
Returning from scans early this morning, Dylan Edwards flashed a smile, but the results brought an end to his State of Origin dream.
How are you feeling? Yeah, good.
Flanked by family, the fullback spent the day at the team hotel and will remain in camp, even though the quad injury could see him miss the next 2 weeks. Edwards on the Blues bus as they relocated from the Blue Mountains back to Homebush, where James Tedesco was waiting.
How does it feel to be back in sky blue colours?
Feels great. It was a bit of a wild 24 hours.
The call from Michael Maguire came yesterday afternoon. Tedesco's immediate thoughts were with Edwards.
I've just seen him briefly, I sent him a message, but it's life sometimes. Bad luck happens, and he definitely deserved the spot here, and it's just how things have worked out.
His focus now, Wednesday night. Tedesco only has 2 training sessions with the team. He says that is enough.
I've played in a couple of these before, so I'll know what it takes to be ready. I won't need long.
Initially axed after 22 consecutive Origin appearances, he isn't motivated by proving anyone wrong.
I don't think that's my mentality, no. I think my mentality is doing what's best for the team, playing my best footy and creating the win. That's the most important thing for me.
A whirlwind week. Tedesco feared his representative career could be over. Now, his state needs him more than ever.
I said leading up to this game that I'd always back whatever Mads chooses, and I accepted that I wasn't going to be playing, and now I'm back playing. So it's a bit of a roller coaster, but I'd always be ready to put on New South Wales jersey and represent as best I can.
Sam Jordan, 9 News.
Without Teddy, the Roosters hit trouble. The Tricolours held scoreless in the second half at Allianz Stadium, allowing the Cowboys to fight back and claim a shock 2-point win while missing 6 of their Origin stars.
In James Tedesco's absence, Jared Ruia-Hargreaves tried to rev up the Roosters, but only found himself on report and then on the sideline with a hamstring injury. With Jared missing, the next generation of Chook's prop stamped his authority.
Walker goes short to May. He'll get there.
The Roosters loving Terrell May's try, but not Braden Burns.
Dives and gets there. The Cowboys are on the board.
The Cowboys' joy short-lived as Sam Walker went down the short side.
Play from Walker. Young scores a try for the Roosters.
North Queensland lost Helam Lukey to the sin bin, but found some momentum with 12 men.
Clifford to Drinkwater. Slips through and scores.
Another left side raid, locking things up with 12 minutes to play.
Good hands. Trino Filiaki.
The Roosters giving away a penalty on their line, allowing Scott Drinkwater to put the Cowboys in front. Some desperate plays in the last 5 minutes, falling short for the Tricolours. The Cowboys hanging on for their 3rd straight victory, 18-16 winners. The Roosters heading into the bye on a loss.
Yeah, it was bad. We felt like we were probably looking for the bye next week, I guess, in that second half. We just didn't turn up. You don't turn up in this competition, you get beaten.
Luke Dovesey, 9 News.
A Shane Flanagan spray at half-time is what brought the Dragons back to life in their win over the Panthers. After trailing 10-0 at the break, the Red V scored 22 unanswered points ending a 6-game losing streak against the reigning premiers.
You've probably only got 2 or 3 per year that you can have, and I've used 1.
In a further blow for Penrith prop, Moses Leota picked up a hamstring injury. Jordan Rapiner had never kicked a field goal in his 12-year NRL career, but the fullback nailed 2 against the Dolphins in a dramatic win. Rapiner slotted his first with 2 minutes to go in regular time, locking things up at 25 all before sealing the victory with his second in golden points. The Matildas have held their one and only training session at Accor Stadium ahead of tomorrow's friendly with China. Coach Tony Gustafsson expecting a much more polished performance than Friday's 1-1 draw.
We want to be much more energised, more powerful, more attacking minded, more aggressive than we were in the last game.
The match is the last chance for players to impress the coach before he names the squad for the Olympics on Tuesday. The Kings of the Champions League have done it again. Real Madrid beating Borussia Dortmund 2-0 to win the tournament final at London's Wembley Stadium. Madrid have now lifted the trophy 15 times, more than twice their nearest rivals, AC Milan, on 7. The T20 World Cup has kicked off in Dallas, Texas. The USA taking on Canada, both nations making their tournament debuts. American fans enjoying their chance to watch some live cricket as the host nation won by 7 wickets. Australia's first match is against Oman on Thursday. The Swifts were blown off the court by the Mavericks in the third quarter of their Super Netball clash in Melbourne this afternoon, eventually falling 64-58. And the Giants are still looking for their first back-to-back wins of the season, going down 74-60 to the Melbourne Vixens. Alex Timor has become the first Australian man to reach the 4th round of the French Open in 17 years. The world number 11 staying composed through rain delays to defeat German Jan-Lennard Struff in 4 sets. The Demon heading straight to celebrate with a young fan who'd been loudly cheering him on all match. Timor is the only Aussie left at Roland Garros after Thanasi Kokkinakis fell to Taylor Fritz in 5 sets. Minjee Lee is perfectly poised to win her second US Open. The Australian is in a 3-way tie for the lead heading into the final day thanks to an impressive 4 under par third round. That's taken her to 5 under for the tournament as she chases a 3rd career major. And after a rusty return to the water in her first race yesterday, Jess Fox has found form, winning the first C1 World Cup event of the season in Germany.
We can see on the results, it was a hard race, and I'm just so happy to be back and looking forward to the next few races.
There are 2 more canoe slalom World Cup events before the Paris Olympics. Dramatic weekend for the Blues. Pete, Wednesday night can't come quick enough.
You can have a rest now after a big sports break.
A lot happening on a Sunday night.
Thank you, James. Next in 9 News, RSV running rampant, the push to vaccinate all infants against the respiratory virus. And an unlikely duo joins forces in a tourism campaign with a twist.
Sydney, the state of origin, is coming to town. And you could be there to cheer on our Blues. For your chance to win one of 5 family passes, scan the QR code on your screen and enter tonight's code word, Blues. Good luck.
Desperate teachers are calling for Queensland to trial body cameras to help them feel safe in the classroom. More than 20,000 students were excluded or suspended for physical aggression last year, a 5-year high for the state. The Queensland Teachers Association says video footage could help parents and managers understand the behavioural issues they're facing daily. Medical professionals are preparing for an increase in hospital admissions of babies and infants with the respiratory virus RSV. But many warn this could be prevented with a national immunisation program.
A Sunday morning, Alfie is resting peacefully beside his sister Nola Rose. But as we head into winter, the Denon family is concerned about viruses circulating. Both children were seriously ill with the respiratory virus RSV within weeks of each other. Alfie was just 4 weeks old.
Seeing your child needing breathing support, needing to be fed through a tube, Nola seizuring for 2.5 hours and needing to go into ICU, it's just something you never thought would happen.
This is Nola Rose being treated by paramedics. She spent 5 nights in hospital. Alfie was there for 3. The latest figures show in 1 week alone, almost 1,500 children aged under 4 years old caught RSV in New South Wales. So far this year, close to 25,000 babies and infants have tested positive for RSV, making up 61% of cases.
It is so severe that they have to come to the hospital. Then they go on and develop recurrent wheezing, so they keep coming back with wheezy chest.
Queensland and Western Australia are the only 2 states that fund the jab for all infants. Minister for Health Ryan Park says this is a new immunisation not available on the National Immunisation Program or via the Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme, so we have chosen to prioritise access for particularly vulnerable infants.
It's scary. RSV is really scary. And not only was it for the children, it was hard for our family unit.
Medical experts want to see a national RSV immunisation program for all infants. It's a move that could prevent around 10,000 hospitalisations each year.
When you have a preventative strategy that you know works, it should be made accessible to every child.
Vicky Jardim, 9 News.
Everyone's favourite blue heeler has teamed up with Robert Irwin to launch Queensland's biggest tourism campaign in more than a decade, urging travellers to head to the Sunshine State. It comes as hundreds of Bluey fans gathered today, hoping to pull off the world's largest game of keepy uppy and keep a red balloon off the ground.
Showcasing to the world what a wonderful state Bluey and her family live in.
The campaign aims to attract an extra 1.3 million people to Queensland. Coming up in our news, Amber with the weather.
Thanks, Pete. It's mostly cloudy at the moment. Just a possible shower tonight. Right now, it is cold outside, 13 degrees in the city, 11 in our west. I'll have your full forecast next. After heavy rain, strong winds and storms overnight, Sydney woke up to partly cloudy skies and light southwesterly winds. There was a significant swell in the harbour, making for a pretty hairy ride on the Manly Ferry today across the Sydney Heads. What a beautiful shot. Last night we saw more than 100 millimetres of rain along the coast, 20 to 80 millimetres of rain in our west before those skies cleared early this morning. Temperatures cooler than average with added wind chill thanks to gusty southwesterlies, only reaching a top of 15 today in Terry Hills, 16 in Penrith and Campbelltown, and 17 degrees in Parramatta, Liverpool, the city and Cronulla. Across New South Wales, we saw a shower or two along the coast and some rain in the northwest thanks to some afternoon storms. That brought 12 millimetres of rain to Gunnedah. Some very cool temperatures along the south coast and inland areas, once again with added wind chill thanks to those gusty southerlies. Tomorrow, a deep low will continue to weaken in the Tasman Sea but cause strong winds and rain across Tasmania and eastern Victoria, while troughs will move across WA and South Australia, bringing some showers. Brisbane, though, heading for a sunny day, 21 degrees. It will be cool but cloudy in Canberra, 13. Overcast in Melbourne with a top of 14 degrees. Partly cloudy skies in Adelaide, 16, and a shower or two on the way for Perth, 21 degrees. Most of New South Wales will stay dry tomorrow. Just a possible light shower or two around the far south coast. The coast ranging from a top of 17 in Bega up to 21 in Grafton, while further inland we'll see temperatures of around 14 degrees across the Riverina, 12 in Bathurst. Let's take a look at Sydney and we can look forward to a beautiful day to kick off the working week. Mostly blue skies and sunshine with light winds, but there will be powerful surf right along the coast. Heading for tops of 17 in Terry Hills, 18 in Kellyville, Parramatta and Campbelltown, a warmer 19 on the way for the city, Penrith and Liverpool. Let's take a look ahead. The blue skies will continue on Tuesday and then we could see some more heavy rain move in late on Wednesday with showers on Thursday and Friday. Possibly more showers next weekend as well. Those top temperatures ranging from 18 to 21 degrees. In our west, mostly sunny skies on Tuesday, a top of 19. Late showers on Wednesday, 17 degrees. That wet weather continue on Thursday and Friday with anything from 1 to 25 millimetres at this stage. Just a shower or two expected across the weekend, Pete.
Amber, thank you. Before we go, here's a quick look at what's in store on tonight's edition of 60 Minutes.
Thanks, Pete. Tonight.
I can't believe that this person would hate me that much.
Is there a more despised murderer than Robert Farquharson?
To want to murder his own children.
He drowned his 3 young sons by driving his car into a dam.
Didn't shed a tear. Very egocentric personality.
But why then are so many experts now questioning the evidence used to convict him?
Would not pass a basic scientific test.
That's tonight after Travel Guides. Back to you, Pete.
Thank you, Nick. I'll have the late news for you at 10:15 tonight. That is 9 News for this Sunday. I'm Peter Overton. I hope you have a good evening. From all of us, good night.